Guys, wait a few more minutes. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Because it's not showing how many people are here. Usually it does. We'll still wait a few more minutes. You can unmute your microphones if you want. That way you can ask questions. Just leave the video cameras off. A couple more minutes. Okay, guys, it's a little past 6. I won't keep you long tonight. It's been a while since we've had one of these meetings. The first thing I'm going to do is we've got, test number 4 coming up, and then after that, test number 5. A lot of people won't have to take the final exam because of the 50% rule. Check your messages. I've sent that earlier. Basically, what it says is if your grade is kind of locked in to an A or a B or a C, whatever the case may be, and you were to make a 50 on the final, would it actually lower your grade? And if it doesn't, then, and you don't take the final, I just give you a 50 automatically. I don't record a 0, I record a 50. Canvas will record a 0, but I go back and change it to a 50. For example, I don't know the exact numbers. You'd have to double check on this. There's ways to do this. We've got several students with a really high average, like a 99, even 100, because they've done bonus points. And then if I enter a 50 on the final, they still are in the 90s. It might be a 90 or a 91. That's still an A. So why take the final? But you won't know that. And for example, you might have an 89. That actually is a B. Now, if you choose not to take the final and I enter a 50, it might drop you down to an 81 or an 82. That still would be a B. But then again, if you had an 89 and took the final, it could also raise you to an A. So like I said, you won't know that until after the 4th test. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I think it's still a week away. I'm not really sure. It might be this week, I'm not sure. But anyway, on test number 4, I'm going to do a screen share and show you a little bit of it. So let me reopen. I'm not really sure, to be honest, but let me go to grades. I want to scroll fast because we introduce other people's grades. Yeah, test number 4 is next week. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open this up and I'm going to show you 80 questions. Now, I believe on test number 4, there's a test bank of about 150, and it randomly chooses 100 of the 150. So how many of these 80 will be on your test? Well, I don't know, probably 30, no, more than 30, probably 50, maybe even 60. It just depends. But now remember, this is recorded. So you can go back later and watch it and scroll through it very slowly, even print it out if you want, because it has the question as well as the answer choices. Let me show you here. So all this is being recorded. It'll be posted either later today or tomorrow. So this is test number 4. I do a little preview. Now what it's going to do is you're going to see this. Now, whether you get question number 1 is exactly question number 1 that I see, I'm not sure. But if I scroll down to 80 questions, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and go through each one of them. They're in the study guides. If you have your study guides, like I said, the tests are made from the study guides, and you have your study guides and you scroll this out and answer these and have these exact answers there, you'll have most of the tests already done when you do it. Because if you go to the module section, you notice, wow, test number 4 is missing on Q&A, and I'll show you that in a minute. But it'll be in this recording tonight, which I make a little video of and I'll post later. So I'm going to scroll down through this. Like I said, I'm going fairly fast. There's no way I expect you to be able to read all this. When you go back and watch it, you can watch it slowly and print it out. And all these are from the study guide. And the study guide is all from the book. And normally I don't give you 80, but I'm going to give you 80. So this is the exact test questions. Like I said, there's about 2/3 of a chance this exact question will be on there. It randomly chooses them. So the exact number of which ones, it may be a little bit different for you. I mean, I could go really fast, but it wouldn't make it a little bit more difficult when you go back and view it. If you'll notice, some of these exact same things on your study guide. If you're working your study guide, you'll find this question on here. You'll find that on there. You won't find the answer, but you on the test, you'll notice these are the answers right here, or one of them is the answer. This chapter talks about exercise a little bit. I'm going to get into that a little bit. I've taught exercise physiology many times. This is not from a physiology standpoint. It's more from a nutrition standpoint. Now, this will help you out if you do it. You can screenshot it and print it out and then answer it. There's, print screen actually will save the screen as a picture and print it out and answer it, and then have it with your study guides. Getting through the class, there's not a whole lot more to go. The hardest part of the class, I know, is doing these study guides and the tests. So there's 80 questions. You can see a little bit of 81. So we've gone through that. So you have that there. And the codes, which you'll take the little 15-point quiz at the end of tonight. The first code, make a note of this, is 232. And then, make sure you take that at the end of this lecture, which won't be that long, to get your 15 points. But the people who aren't here will actually have to watch the video, find the code, and then take that little quiz. You have to the end of the week to take it. But since you're here tonight, take it to the end of this so you don't have to worry about it. Now, so I'm going to go back. This is section 02, but all the sections are pretty much the same. Now, there are a lot of bonus assignments in this class for people that need a few points here and there. You could actually not do that well on the test and actually still make a good grade in the class, even an A. You could have a C test average and still make an A in this class, provided you do the bonus stuff. So once again, I'm going to go to, I shouldn't be showing everybody grades, but what I want to show you are these bonus things right here. This module 21.2, 22.2, and this sound bonus quiz. All right, I'm going to go to this again one more time. That's a quiz. I've had a couple of people figure this out already. There's these little sound bonus sound bites everywhere throughout this website. The reason I do that is to encourage you to navigate the site and read various things on nutrition. And only a couple of people have actually done this. Now, you say, well, it's worth 0.24 points. Don't analyze that too much. It's worth 24 points. You can take it 20 times. I'm going to preview it. This is just going to the quiz itself, which there are a lot of links to the quiz without even listening to the sound. And you can read all this. It talks about in detail what it is. But if you use a little bit of common sense, you can say, well, I can take it 20 times because there's 24 sounds. One is worth 5 points. Now, remember, if you can take it 20 times, I'll give you a little hint. Even without even reading the question or the answer, if you say, hey, I'm going to guess. Question number, I'm just going to put the first one on each one. Question 1, I'm going to put that. Question 2, I'm going to put that. Question 3, and I go down through this whole thing, all 20, and put number 1, and then hit submit or grade. It will tell you how many got right. It will tell you which ones you got wrong, but it won't tell you the answer. Well, what you do is you write down the number of the question, because these aren't randomly selected, and the correct answer. So that when you take it again, now you enter the correct answers, but on the others, they're not A, or the first answer, maybe they're the second answer. So you go down and take it again, and you click the second choice on each one. But be sure and click the first choice on the ones that were correct, because that's obviously the correct answer, and you submit it again. And literally, you would only have to do this 5 or 6 times, and you go, wow, because there's 6 choices on some of them, maybe 7. It doesn't matter. And then you could actually get all 24 points just by doing that. I've had a couple of people, like I said, figure that out. And that's bonus points. But technically, I have them. I normally don't show people that. I make them figure it out. You can say, okay, on the home page, you can say, oh, here's one of them right here. You play a sound. You get on the internet, try to figure it out, or maybe maybe you don't. You click here. It takes you to the quiz. And you could enter that one. You could read the questions and say, oh, what one, that preview. You say, okay, on the home page, and one of these questions will say that. And you could answer that one. And you can go through it question by question, or you can just go to the quiz and do it the way I said. But you can browse the website and get those 24 points. That makes a little bit of difference. Now, going back to the 2 other bonus videos in the module section, going down to module, so that's a little sound bonus quiz. You can get there that way too. This one right here on water memory is an 1.5 hour long video, and it's good. It's interesting. It's on YouTube too. Make sure you get the right one. But this is a link to YouTube. It's a very interesting video on water. It's really misunderstood. It's complicated, almost mystical. That quiz is worth 25 points, and the questions are easy. I think there's 10 questions worth 2.5 each. So even if you miss a few, no big deal. You're still going to get some bonus points. Watch the video. It's interesting. I promise you, it's not boring. You'd be really surprised. And then take that little quiz and get as many of the 25 points as you can. Most students get all 25 because I made the questions simple. But then again, if you miss 1 or 2, no big deal. You'll still get bonus points. And then that will be added to your bonus point column. Now, the reason it says 0.1 points is because I have to assign points to it. If I put 0, then you take it, I wouldn't know which ones you missed. For example, let's say you take this quiz and you get 8 out of 10 right. Then in your grade, it would say like 0.8 or 0.08, which tells me you took it, which means you got 8 out of 10. And actually we change that. I think that's like 20 out of 25. So I would change that 0.8 to a 20, which you will notice it'll bump up your overall average, okay? Here's another one on fasting. It's an old movie. It's like a 30-year-old movie now. This is a great movie. It's an old movie, but there's 5 simple questions on that. That's worth 20 points. And so it'll say 0.05. If you get 4 out of 5, it'll say 0.04. And that I'll change that actually to like 16 out of 20. Those 2 things add up, plus the sound bonus points add up. And they make a difference, almost as a letter grade in terms of your overall grade. So, take advantage of that because it's a chance to get your grade up high enough to where, stop the screen share, to where you don't have to, maybe you're looking at not having to take the final exam. That way you don't have to worry about it toward the end, okay? So take advantage of that. Now, what I want to do, I want to spend a little bit of time, and I want to have an open session where you can ask me some questions on it, because I know the first class meeting, we've only had one. We went over this a little bit, and hopefully these videos that you're watching and some of the information you're reading on nutrition is opening your eyes a little bit, because there's a lot of propaganda out there, a lot of misinformation. I don't think malicious, I wouldn't call it malicious information. I don't think anybody's intentionally trying to harm your health or hurt you as far as nutrition goes. I just think there's a lot of ignorance out there. In fact, I know there is, even by professionals, the medical community, et cetera. A lot of those kind of people do know, but a lot don't. They're just regurgitating what they've been taught and what they believe, and to me it's almost annoying, because I see it hurting people's health, almost ruining their health, because they can't look at the big picture. They're too hung up on these little details. So I want to spend a little bit of time, because the next test talks about exercise and nutrition and fitness and things of this nature. So this is a little bit of it's on the test, but it's on your study guide too. Like I said, I won't keep you that long tonight. It might be 45 minutes at most. I want to make it interesting. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. I'm informal. I don't care if I'm in the middle of a sentence and you have something you want to say, agree. You can disagree with me. As long as we have a friendly disagreement, that's fine. and form your own opinion, especially nowadays with health and coronavirus and all the politics out there. Form your own opinion. Don't listen to any one particular channel. I'm talking about all of them. Form your own opinion. Maybe opinion. Listen to various sources and then kind of use your brain. You're smart. You can kind of figure out what's going on. If somebody has an agenda, are they in it for publicity or money or what? You know, I mean, that's true with everything, including health now. Unfortunately, it's permeated health in the medical community, and I find that rather annoying. But it is, and it's permeated education to a degree, a lot. It's permeated our entire society, where you have to decide what's real, what can I believe, or who can I believe, and what's not real. You even have to be careful on the internet, because there's some stuff put on the internet that's actually not that accurate. Most of it's pretty accurate, but some of it's not, when you actually start double checking it. But this chapter, or one of these chapters on this upcoming test, talks about exercise and nutrition and weight and things of this nature. So I'm going to just kind of sum it up for you a little bit. And I've mentioned this before, I think at the earlier meeting. And I've coached in college for years. I'm retired from coaching now. My sport was tennis, but in high school I played football and tennis, which is a strange combination. But this growing up in Texas, it's illegal not to play football in Texas in high school. I'm being facetious, but anyway, they're nutritionists, athletic trainers, personal fitness trainers, coaches, physical educators. Some know, most probably don't, when it comes to nutrition and athletic performance and supplements and things of this nature, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Everybody's going to give you a different opinion. There are people in Hollywood that hire these personal trainers or fitness coaches. That's fine if you want to pay somebody to motivate you, but there's most of them kind of know what they're doing. Some don't. They do it mainly for the money. They know a little bit about it, but once again, I'll start from the nutrition standpoint, because this is a nutrition class. And you tell people this, they get a little bit defensive, especially people in the field, because they don't believe it. But once again, there is nothing, and I mean nothing, that you can eat nor take. I'm talking about vitamins, minerals, supplements, protein powder, eating certain types of foods, eating a certain way. Nothing, none of that. And I know there's been books and books written on it. None of that will make you a better athlete. Nothing. And let me give you an example once again. Like I said, I know we've talked about it a little bit. Nothing that you can eat, nor take, nor do, as far as nutrition goes, makes you run faster, jump higher, lift more weights, shoot a basketball better. None of that makes you a better athlete. It just does not work that way. Athletic ability has many different definitions, and it's not the same as fitness. Fitness and health, I put in a different category than athletics. They're related, but you can be fit and not athletic, and healthy, or vice versa, depending upon the sport and some other factors. Now, once again, common sense applies. And the example that I used before was that if you're going to run in a marathon, you need to do what is carbo loading a day or two before, eat a lot of carbohydrates, so that your cells have a lot of glucose stored energy, so that you have energy to run the marathon. And then if you do, then you're going to run the marathon as fast as you're capable of running. It's not going to make you run faster. It's going to allow you to perform at your ability. Well, what's going to make you run faster? Well, training, heredity, things like that. Mainly training, nothing you eat. It's going to allow you to perform as well as you can perform. If you're in a track meet and you're running a mile, you want your glucose level normal or maybe slightly high. So you have a lot of energy, so you run the mile as fast as you're capable of running. It's not going to make you run faster. It's going to allow you to perform at your optimal level. You can't eat to win. There's no such thing as eating to win. There's eating to perform at your, like I said, your maximum capability. Food does not have that effect. Vitamins, supplements, all that kind of stuff. It does not work that way. Now, eating correctly, which means not eating too much and having more time between your meals, makes you healthier. And I equate health with fitness. If you're more fit and more healthy, then you're probably going to feel better and you're probably going to perform better. It's not going to make you a world-class athlete, but weight and glucose level and all that stuff and being fit makes a difference. So that there's a point to doing that to improve performance. So much of it is inherited. It has to do with muscle fiber type. If you have fast twitch muscle fiber types, you're good at sprints. You're born with that. If you have slow twitch fibers, you might be better at distance events. You can train, but you might never be able to run a 4-minute mile. You'll become very fit because heredity has limits. You don't have enough slow twitch muscle fibers. Maybe you'd be better at the sprint. If you're not tall, that's heredity. Then you'll probably never be good at basketball. A few exceptions, but as a general rule, heredity kind of sets the athletic limits. The way you eat, being fit, kind of determines how you fit within what heredity is given you. You have to go back to the understanding of how everything works in the body. At the cellular level, we're once again, remember, we're made of cells. Cells, like little factories, only taking what they need. And so if you put extra vitamin C in there, extra amino acids, thinking it's going to build muscle, extra protein, all these extra things, and B12, B6, whatever the case may be, a cell, if it has enough of it, it doesn't take it in. See, we can overeat as humans, and everybody's guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. But our cells will not overeat. You put extra glucose in the bloodstream, cells will reject it. They don't take it in. Cells will not overeat. So they leave it in the bloodstream, it goes to fat cells, you gain weight, and the body tends to get rid of it. You put extra vitamin D in the bloodstream thinking it's good for bones, but bone cells only take in a certain amount. It's complicated because D acts like a hormone, but extra doesn't have any benefit. It's like putting extra oil in your car, extra brake fluid in your car, thinking it'll stop better. It doesn't work like that. Extra gasoline, thinking it'll run better. None of that works. The same thing with the body. Extra of anything makes no difference. But it usually does no harm either unless you have way too much of something. Then you can have some interference problems, especially with certain amino acids because they interfere with absorption of other amino acids. You can drink all the protein powder, eat all the meat and steak you want. It's not going to build muscle. It just doesn't work like that. Muscle cells function off glucose for energy. They're built out of proteins, which we are. Everything in the body is built out of proteins, basically. So you put extra amino acids thinking it's going to somehow build muscle. It doesn't work. The amino acids, the muscle only takes in certain amino acids, muscle cells, uses what it needs and rejects the rest. What builds muscle is lifting weights and heredity, hormones. You don't want to do that. It's kind of risky. But that's what builds muscle, not something you eat. It just doesn't work that way. Now, is it harmful to do that? No. People drink like sugary drink like Gatorade, and that might boost your glucose level, and that might give you a little bit more energy. And extra energy gives you extra energy to work out, so you have a better workout, and that's what makes you more fit. Not the food, not the food. It's just that it gave you the energy to actually work out. And that's what did it, not the food itself. It just, there's nothing you can eat that actually does that. Now, going back on, and I know we discussed this first day, but we have so few of these meetings. I kind of want you, when you get out of this class, to keep this in mind, because when you discuss it with people, they get really confused. They don't look at the big picture. So, and I've made this statement before, but kind of summing up nutrition, you don't have to eat less. Now, eating less is beneficial. They know that. Calorie restriction, eating less, organisms that eat less live longer. They know this. They studied this with humans all the way through monkeys to amoeba and everything. Less food, you live longer. That's not the same thing as starvation, but that's difficult to do. But you don't have to eat less to live longer and be healthy. You need to eat less often. When I say less often, basically what that means is you need more time between meals. The more time you have between meals, the longer you will live and the healthier you will be. There's no question on that. There's tons of research on that. And once again, the concept of 3 meals a day is made up. It's not physiological or biological. It's just man came up with it because it just kind of came out of nowhere, and people tend to believe that. But that's not as healthy as somebody that eats 2 meals a day, not near as healthy as somebody who eats 1 meal a day. Now, the 1 meal a day will be bigger. It'll include more food, but that's more time between meals. Now, once again, what happens is that you have to keep the big picture in mind, and that's glucose level, blood sugar level. All cells in our body run on glucose. They can run on ketone bodies, they can run on amino acids, but it's mainly glucose. Now, blood glucose level. If it goes to 0, you die in a matter of 7 or 8 minutes. Now, just like oxygen level goes to 0, so that's scary to people. So they instantly think you need to keep it normal. Keep everything normal. Normal sounds healthy. Normal is not healthy when it comes to nutrition. Abnormal, when I say abnormal, I mean irregular, is healthy. When I say irregular, I mean oscillation. Everything in the human body needs to oscillate. Oscillate means to go up and down like this. Your body has natural oscillation rhythms. Once again, the example I used is your blood pressure. It goes from 120 heartbeats and then to 80, and heart relaxes. That means your vessels oscillate. That's blood pressure. It keeps your vessels elastic because the pressure goes up, they stretch, pressure goes down, they relax. That's oscillation. Lack of oscillation leads to disease, hardening of the arteries. Blood pressure needs to oscillate. Your breathing oscillates. When you work out, you're breathing hard. When you're sleeping, you're breathing less. That's oscillation. Your heart rate oscillates. You get up and walk around, it goes up. You sit down, it goes down. That's oscillation. Glucose level needs to oscillate and not be normal all the time. Eating 5-6 little meals a day, it's not enough oscillation in glucose level. It needs to go up. It needs to be high, not dangerously high, temporarily. And then more time between meals, it will drop. And then you eat again, it goes up, and then it goes down. That's oscillation of glucose level. A number of things happen when glucose level oscillates. If it's high and stays high for a long period of time, that's, once again, that's the definition of diabetes. You don't want that. That's usually insulin resistance. There's a number of problems that cause that. Heredity is related to it. But in a low blood glucose environment, not hypoglycemic, not dangerously low, although it doesn't stay low, it tends to go back up automatically. And a low, once again, in a low blood glucose environment, when I say low, I don't know, like 75, 70, you don't want to getting it down below 40, you might feel like you're going to pass out. But once it gets low, your body functions in a different state. Now, if it's low, you're not used to it. You may feel lightheaded. You may feel like you have lack of energy, etc. This is kind of normal. If you're not used to it, if you're used to it, you probably won't feel any of that. But in a low blood glucose environment, think about this. your glucose level in your bloodstream is low everywhere. That means every cell in your body has a little bit less glucose. It's not zero, but it has a little bit less. That creates stress, but it's a positive kind of stress, which is called hormesis. Remember, hormesis is stress that has a positive effect. Like exercise is hormesis, stress that makes you stronger. Getting sick is hormesis, builds your immune system. Getting, a virus makes you sick. As long as you don't die from it, you're stronger afterwards. That drop in glucose level, because every cell has a little bit less glucose, is under a little bit of stress. Cells, you have all kinds of cells that most are healthy, but you have some cancer cells in there. Everybody does. You have some older cells. You have some disease cells. They too use glucose. When glucose level gets low, it tends to be that it promotes apoptosis. Remember, apoptosis is programmed cell death. Several Nobel Prizes have been awarded in that area, but every cell's programmed to die when it becomes defective in the DNA. There's apoptotic genes that are like death genes. There's even ones on the surface that when they're triggered, they force the cell to kill itself. Low glucose level in unhealthy cells will trigger apoptosis. It will tell that cell, kill itself. And most of the time cells do it naturally, but sometimes they need a little boost. And when it kills itself, it breaks off into little bitty capsules and it's reabsorbed by the body. It kind of goes away, it's sort of recycled. Versus necrosis, that's where a cell bursts its guts open, damage, poison, you cut yourself, it kills those cells, kills surrounding cells. Apoptosis is very necessary for health, survival, longevity. You have 1 million cells per second out of 100 trillion that commit suicide every second. 100 million, they die everywhere inside, even some in the brain, nerves, skin, which you can see. This is apoptosis in play. Low glucose level promotes apoptosis. Unhealthy cells die. Surrounding cells are left. Those are the healthy ones. When enough unhealthy cells die, other cells detect that and they divide and make copies of themselves. So you grow new healthy cells. But this happens internally and it happens externally, happens everywhere in the body. And anything that interferes with apoptosis will promote aging, disease, cancer, diabetes, every disease you can think of is related to lack of apoptosis. So normal glucose level inhibits apoptosis because you're always keeping those unhealthy cells, you're always giving them a little bit of food. You're not allowing them to die properly. And if that cell's cancerous, it's going to metastasize and spread and make a cancerous copy. You need to stress that cell. Cancer cells use glucose, use 200 times as much glucose as a regular cell. So if glucose level drops just a little, the first cells affected are the cancer cells. It's very anti-cancer. One of the most anti-cancer things you can do is to reduce glucose so cancer cells, they can't handle it. Other cells can actually switch and start using what are called ketone bodies. That's sort of a backup for energy, but cancer cells can't do it. Cancer cells cannot live on ketone bodies. Now your body always has some glucose. You switch from glucose to ketone bodies when you start fasting after about a day, and this is healthy. But ketone bodies are similar to glucose, but they change your blood chemistry. They might give you a headache. You're not used to it. But it's called ketosis. It's a very healthy state to be in. And it fights all kinds of diseases and things like that. Now, you need ketone bodies in your body. The more you have, the better off you're going to be. And it's not easy to do. Like we watched the video on alternate day fasting, it increases ketone bodies a lot. As a matter of fact, the people lifting weights, they need to use ketone bodies because they're actually better at building muscle than glucose is, because there's more stress going on in the body, and you stress the muscle, especially muscle cell, tends to atrophy, get bigger. I know that's kind of the opposite of what you've heard. But the best time to work out, not for performance, because if it's performance, you need glucose normal. But if glucose is low, it takes more energy to work out. Maybe you can't lift as much, you can't run as fast, but it stresses you more. You're under more hormesis. The workout's actually more intense. They've actually studied this. The atrophy or the hypertrophy, muscles getting bigger, happen more when glucose levels low. Maybe you can't, like I said, you're worried about, well, I can't bench as much. I don't have much energy. You notice it takes more effort. The more effort you put into something, then the more the body adapts, because you're creating stress and the body doesn't like stress. And so what happens is you're under so much stress that the body says, I don't like this. And it changes, it adapts. Your muscles get bigger, your heart gets stronger, so that when you work out, your body goes, see, I already changed, so I'm not under as much stress. The more stress you create, the more adaptation that takes place within reason. You can't create so much stress that, it's dangerous. But it's a concept that's lost a lot of times because people they don't want to go through the stress. That's why distance runners train at altitude, marathon runners, they'll go up to high altitude and train. Their times won't be as good, but the oxygen level is lower there. So that when they run at altitude or lower level, they have more oxygen, and they actually perform better because they're used to the stress of actually having less oxygen. But nutrition wise, the body kind of works the same way. There's just a myriad of things that happen when it comes to, so I want to spend a little bit of time. We've only got maybe 10 more minutes, guys, here. Let me give you the second code. The second code is 333. So make a note of that. The second code is 333. I'll give you the third code here in a minute. So on weight and exercise and nutrition, the first thing you got to keep in mind is that weight's about 90% determined by heredity. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. You can be somewhat overweight and still be fit, just like somebody can be thin and be unfit. It's only correlated with it. It's not the end all. It's harder for some people to lose it than other people. Other people overeat, they don't gain weight. They think they're getting by with it, but they actually have just as much cancer and diabetes as somebody that gains weight. So just because you eat more and you don't gain weight, you're not getting by with it from a health standpoint. From a weight standpoint, you are. But thin people can get diabetes by overeating. They know this. There are thin people that have diabetes, and there's overweight people that don't have diabetes. So it's correlated with it, but it's not the cause of it. But weight is all about fat cells. And everywhere you have skin, you have fats, you have a layer of fat cells underneath it. In fact, it's this pretty much uniform. That's why they can determine the percentage of body fat you have from just your finger. There's a device, you put just your finger in this device, and it sends an electrical signal through your finger, and the signal either travels faster or slower through fat, I'm not sure. But it actually can tell you the percent of body fat just from the finger. I've done this in labs before. Students will go, oh no, I just have a fat finger. It's not the same everywhere. No. If it's 25% in the finger, it's 25% everywhere. Everywhere. It's 25% in this finger and this finger. Anybody that's ever gained weight or lost weight knows what I'm talking about. You gain it uniformly in the face, the fingers, the feet, the hip, and you lose it uniformly. No such thing as spot weight reduction. You can't do it. You can't lose weight in the stomach just by doing sit-ups. It doesn't work. Makes your abdominal muscles stronger, but you lose weight everywhere. Every fat cell is like a little battery. When you eat too much and cells don't take it in, the glucose converted to fat cells get bigger. Underneath the skin, about 50% of your cells, fat cells, are subcutaneous. 50% are internal, around the liver, the heart, joints. You have fat cells all throughout your body. About half of them are internal. Those are related to body heat too. But when you lose weight, every fat cell shrinks just a little. And this is phenomenal because you notice, wow, I'm losing it in my face and everywhere. People, well, I just lose it in the stomach. You can't. You'll lose it there too, but you'll lose it everywhere. But you lose it internally. And when fat cells internally start shrinking, people feel better, because when fat cells internally get big, they expand. And And if they get too big, they push on arteries, they interfere with circulation, they push on nerves, they cause pain, all kinds of things happen. But when they shrink internally, there's less crowding. You can actually die from overweight internally by it pushing on, interfering with circulation so much you could lose an arm or a leg. But when those fat cells shrink internally, your whole system functions more efficiently. And that's a benefit of it too. When they shrink internally, you shrink too. But you also gain weight. Every fat cell gains weight. They're all like little batteries. They all gain weight at the same rate, and they all lose weight at the same rate. So the type of exercise you're doing doesn't matter as far as losing weight. Now there's some that are more intense, like jogging, it's more intense. But you don't lose weight just in your legs. What happens is your leg muscles get stronger, but you lose weight everywhere. And that's why spot weight reduction doesn't work. You can't just lose it in one spot, no matter what exercise you're doing. What exercise you're doing will make those muscles stronger, but if you're in the fat cell reduction mode, every fat cell supplies energy, no matter what body part is moving. Now, so how do you tap into fat cells for energy? Remember, we use glucose. Glucose in the bloodstream, an hour, maybe 2 or 3, without eating, and it drops a few points. After not eating for about a day, maybe 18 hours, it kind of overlaps, but definitely after 24 hours of not eating, your blood glucose level is low enough that you still need glucose. And after 3 hours of not eating it in the bloodstream, it's a little bit low. The glucose starts coming from your liver and your muscles. It's stored glucose called glycogen. You have about a day's worth there, 18 to 24 hours. So you don't eat for a day, then that glucose level is used up. Remember, glucose goes to 0, you die. So you don't die after a day of not eating. So now where does glucose come from? Now glucose comes from fat cells. Fat cells store fat, not glucose, hence the name. But the fatty acids go through the cell wall into the bloodstream, circulate around, picked up by the liver. The liver converts the glucose or the fat into glucose. It also converts it into ketone bodies, which can be used also. So your ketone levels go up, but so does glucose level. But in doing that, in fat cells releasing that, they shrink. Because fat cells are mainly just storage bodies of fat with a little bitty nucleus, and they can shrink way down. You have about 2 months worth of stored energy in fat cells. So they shrink and they shrink where? Everywhere, to supply the body with glucose. So for weight loss to occur, you need to tap into fat cells. That's where weight is. It's all about fat cells. It's not water weight, that's temporary. It's not muscle weight, that has more to do, what muscles do weigh more than fat, but that has to do with fitness level. And to get into that level, you have to go a period of time of not eating. And that will tap into fat cells. I mean, you could be, if you don't eat for a day and you're laying on your couch watching TV, but not exercising at all, you're losing weight. Not as much as if you're exercising, because fat cells are being used for energy, for your heart and respiration, and they're shrinking. You're losing weight. But if you eat and then 3 hours later go exercise, it's good, but the energy is coming from the liver and the muscles. You're not really losing much weight. You're becoming more fit, and you're burning through the liver and the muscle glucose, but you're not into fat cells yet. To lose weight, you need to tap into fat cells. I know people really fit that are overweight, and the reason they're overweight is because they don't have enough time to actually tap into the fat cells. And there's a number of other things as far as low blood glucose that boosts your immune system. Studies show that everything functions better in that sort of environment because you need that sort of oscillation. And kids need it, adults need it, athletes need it, and this business of if you take this vitamin or that vitamin, it's going to make you do this better or that better. Extra cells don't take in extra. You take in extra vitamin A thinking it's going to improve your vision. It's not, because cells only need so much vitamin A, and you take extra, they just reject it, and your body just basically gets rid of it. Too much can kill you. If you watch that video on Vitamania, because of toxicity, it takes a lot, actually. It takes a whole bunch. But that vision is more complicated than that. Yes, you can go blind without vitamin A, but it's not like that. Somebody has a question. Somebody says if you same weight, but you look a lot slimmer. I'm not sure what you're asking. If you lose weight, but you still look the same way? Somebody can unmute. I don't know who asked that question. You could ask it again because it popped up. Only one can see it is actually me. And one of the things about, body type, and we're almost done here, guys, but body type is not the same thing as weight. That's heredity. There's a term called ectomorph, which means tall and thin. It mainly means thin, not necessarily tall. Mesomorph, which means average, and ectomorph. If you're working out and you're looking similar, but the scale the same weight, what can it be? Oh, all right, that's a good question. Remember, muscle weighs more than fat. So if you start working out more, your muscles get a little bit bigger, a little bit slimmer. When I say slimmer, it's because fat cells are shrinking. You can weigh the same amount, but you're actually becoming more fit. That's why those BMI scales don't work for athletes or pregnant women, because they'll show they're all overweight. But a pound of, or a certain volume of fat weighs about half as much as the same volume of muscle. So the more muscle you have, the more weight you will have. So you can actually become more fit, and you think, I'm not losing weight even though I'm working out. So that's actually not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, a guy could weigh 180 and actually be overweight based upon his height, or he could weigh 180 and not be overweight because he has more muscle than fat. Because remember, muscles, you work muscles out enough, you don't create more muscle fibers. The one you have actually get bigger, and that's actually a good thing. But going back and talking about body types, you hear the term big bone, people laugh at that. Well, that's actually a real thing. It doesn't mean your bones are bigger. It means your skeletal frame is bigger. That has nothing to do with body fat. You can have a wide skeletal frame and have a low percent of body fat. A skin skeletal frame and have a high percent of body fat. You can't change your skeletal frame. I mean, just like your height, you can't change it. And people associate that with weight a lot, and it looks different on different people. So that has a lot to do with heredity. It's not the same. It's still beneficial, but it's just a concept. It's one I've tried to practice. It's very difficult because hunger is such a strong emotion. It's controlled by hormones. It's a very powerful emotion. It's very hard to overcome it, especially you work all day, or you go to school and you do things, and it seems like not eating is a punishment, and you're depriving yourself, and that is tough. Yeah, somebody says you're trying to lose weight. You don't have to be a special diet. It just depends on, I kind of complete that for you. It depends upon, number one, heredity. But everybody can lose weight. It's harder for some people than others. But keep in mind, to lose weight, the more time you have between meals, the more weight you will lose, because you tap into fat cells. If you're used to 3 meals a day, go to 2. Breakfast is not the most important meal, it's the least important. Because when you eat breakfast, you replenish the glucose stores, and fat cells are not supplying energy. If you don't eat during the night, and you can make it till lunch, your energy is coming from fat cells. That's weight loss. And it may affect your mood depending on whether you're used to eating or not eating it. But if you're going to skip a meal, that's the meal to skip, in my opinion. It's not the most important meal, it's the least important meal. There's no meal more important or least important. It's just more time between meals, the more weight you will lose, the healthier you will be, etc., because you need to tap into fat cells for weight loss. And that's not an easy thing to do. Yeah, somebody says not eating past 7 because it makes you gain weight. That's a myth that's out there. I don't know who promoted that. Somebody goes to bed early. I don't know. Eating past 7. That's like saying don't put gas in your car past 7 because it doesn't drive as well. The time of the day is irrelevant. If I eat once a day, it's always past 7. I'll eat like 9 or 10 or 11 before I go to bed because I feel full. Feeling full, you sleep easier. It's hard to sleep when you're hungry. And you eat so much because you hadn't eaten all day that when you wake up in the morning, you don't even want breakfast. You're still kind of full from the day before. There's nothing wrong with saying, okay, don't eat past 7. If I eat once a day, somebody asked, when would the last meal be? For me, it's in the evening because I can go through the day and say, be hungry and say, I can make it. And then in the evening, you get to relax and enjoy a big meal, go to bed when you're full, etc. That's just my habit. Now, the problem is you say you're going to eat once a day and it's at noon. Somebody says they eat around 11, skips breakfast. That's actually a good thing. If you're going to eat once a day and it's noon, that's fine too. But that for me, that would be difficult because in the evening I would be more hungry and it'd be harder to go to bed, etc. I don't think about eating during the day. It's just like, everybody's like, oh, it's breakfast time, and everybody's, oh, it's noon, it's time to eat. Our whole society revolves around lunch hour, lunch break, stuff like that. It's just everything revolves around food. And that's kind of the problem. And the problem with kids, if you train them, they'll grow up to be that way. They'll get used to breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. We didn't evolve like that at all. I taught anatomy and physiology. I show organs that there's no way we should be eating that way. That's man-made. I mean, there's 7 different organs in the body: the stomach, the intestines, the gallbladder, that all say do not eat that way. We've started eating that way because there's more food. No animals eat that way. You eat a lot when it's available, and then you have a period of time where it's not available. It's actually healthy. That's where I'm going to wrap it up here, guys, in the last couple of minutes. But that's why people get confused. It's kind of annoying, but I understand where people come from. The terms, once again, appetite, hunger, and starvation, they're really misused. Appetite means your brain. You think you're hungry. You eat a donut. I can eat a donut and I still want another donut afterwards, and maybe another one because of the sugar fix. You're eating with appetite. That's not true hunger. True hunger takes about a day to be triggered. There's hormones. The main one's ghrelin, and it's a hormone human drive. And when you eat when you're truly hungry, you enjoy the food, but that takes a day. Try not eating for a day, and you'll see what hunger is really like. Try eating for several days, and you'll really understand hunger. Why some animals are desperate, but that takes about a day. And you can go 2 months. The normal weight person goes 2 months before they starve to death. Overweight, you can go longer. I'm not recommending that. After a month, weird things will start happening. Most people do that, though. Watch videos on fasting. You'll find some people going several months, but they were somewhat overweight before they started. But a normal weight person can go several weeks without any problems. Now, I'm not talking about psychological and not feeling good and not having energy. You'll get some of that. But so appetite anytime, hunger takes about a day. And we'll use the term starvation. Starvation takes a couple of months. Starvation means at the point of dying. So I'm really amazed when on television they'll say, so-and-so was lost in the forest for 3 days, and yet they still survived without food. That's ridiculous. Anybody can go 3 days without food. Are you kidding? They're probably healthier when they got out than when they went in, unless they were anorexic when they got lost. That's a different issue. So when they say 3 days and 5 days, and people are amazed that you can go 2 months. Yet we throw the term starvation around rather loosely. If somebody skips a meal, they'll say they're starving. They should say, I'm hungry. And they may not even be hungry. They're probably still in the appetite mode. But you'll notice on TV, they say, stamp out hunger, programs to address hunger. Hunger is a real problem. Hunger is not a problem. It's a hormone. It's a necessary. It's secreted by the body. It tells you when it's time to eat. It's a real thing. It's necessary. You don't want to suppress hunger. That's like suppressing the sex drive. Then people wouldn't reproduce. But you don't give in to sex drive every time it presents itself. It would be like monkeys in a zoo. So you should not give in to hunger every time that hormone presents itself. Every time you feel the least bit hungry, you eat. That's ridiculous. Every time you have sex drive, you have sex. Every time you're mad, that's hormone related. You ram your car into somebody. We're humans. We control hormones with the exception of hunger. For some reason, people think, are you hungry? You need to address it. That's like saying, are you sleepy? You'd be going to sleep during the day. You sleep while you're driving, sleep in class, sleep at work. No, you don't give into that hormone. You suppress it. You deal with it. Hunger should be the same way, but it's not. And it's led to obesity and diabetes, shortened lifespan, extreme cancer, etc. And parents should teach their kids this habit of eating. So like on a Saturday or Sunday, it's not child abuse. So mom or dad should say, on Sundays or Saturdays, we eat one meal a day. And of course, watch your neighbors complain and call Child Protective Services, whatever. I mean, that's healthy. It's healthy for you. It's healthy for your kids. And they'll actually enjoy what you make because they'll really be hungry rather than forcing somebody to eat. There's all kinds of research on this, how anti-cancer it is, but it's our society's focused sort of in a different area. Okay, guys, the last code is 411. So I'll go for the codes again: 232, 333, and 411. So take the little quiz, get your free points, and you're good to go. Anybody have any questions? Because I'm going to end the meeting. I'll post the video probably later tonight, maybe tomorrow. Okay, guys? Have a good evening, everybody. Bye.